What if some of the things we think of as personality flaws aren't flaws at all? What if they're actually these incredibly sophisticated survival skills we picked up in childhood? That's what we're digging into today, these rare psychological traits that are quietly shaped by early trauma. It's not just about pain, it's about how those experiences can literally rewire how a person thinks, how they react, and ultimately how they survive.
And this quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? The way we usually picture a trauma survivor. It's often so wrong. We might look at someone and see incredible strength, someone who's got it all together, super responsible. But what psychology shows us is that underneath all that, there's this really complex inner world that was shaped by one thing, the absolute necessity to survive.
All right, so here's our plan for this explainer. First, we're going to look at what's called the survivor's blueprint, basically how these traits even get formed. Then we'll dive into the skill of reading the unspoken, and after that, the heavy armor of strength people carry. And we'll wrap up by looking at what it means to move beyond survival. Okay, so let's jump right in with the foundation. The most crucial thing to understand here is that these traits, they're not random, not at all. They are a direct result of the brain doing what it does best, adapting. In this case, adapting to an environment that felt unsafe or totally unpredictable. It's literally a blueprint built for one purpose, survival.
And this is the core truth, right here. We're not talking about character flaws or weird personality quirks. No, these are incredibly sophisticated adaptations. They're tools a child's mind literally built from scratch to navigate a really difficult world. And the thing is, they often carry over completely unseen into adulthood.
All right, so now we're going to look at the first set of traits. These are all about navigating the external world. Think of them as skills that were developed to read and manage the environment. And yeah, the people in it, all for the sake of self-protection.
So have you ever met someone who can just walk into a room and instantly know the vibe, like they can just feel the mood? Well, people who've been through childhood trauma often have this ability, but on a whole other level. They can pick up on the tiniest shifts in someone's tone of voice, a fleeting facial expression, just the energy in the room, stuff that most of us would completely miss.
There's actually a psychological term for this. It's called hypervigilance. Here's what happens. When a kid's environment is unstable, their brain learns a critical lesson. Survival means spotting emotional danger before it blows up. The problem is, as an adult, that internal scanner just stays on. It's constantly reading the room for threats.
And this is just such a powerful way to reframe it, isn't it? What we might dismiss as anxiety or just overthinking everything is actually a highly tuned survival skill. It's a skill that just never got the memo that it was safe to finally power down.
Okay, let's move on to trait number 2. This one is a really deep-seated need to manage how other people are feeling. And look, this isn't just about being nice. It's this feeling of being responsible for keeping everyone around you calm or happy or stable, and it often comes at a huge personal cost.
So where does this actually come from? Well, the psychological root is often something called early emotional role reversal. Basically, it's when a child learns that their own safety, their own well-being, depends on managing a parent's or a caregiver's emotions. And then, in adulthood, that learned behavior looks an awful lot like what we call people-pleasing. Okay, let's shift our focus now. If the last section was all about managing the world outside, this one is about the internal armor that's built to withstand it. And, it's really about the incredibly high price of appearing so strong all the time.
So these next 3 traits are all deeply connected. You can almost think of them as layers of a single protective strategy. It all starts with the body, which stays on constant high alert. Then, the mind learns a hard lesson. Rely only on yourself. And finally, the heart learns to hide its own pain away from everyone.
And this first one is such a strange paradox, right? For a lot of survivors, calm doesn't actually feel like peace. It feels unsettling, weird. When your nervous system gets wired for chaos early on, something like stability can feel temporary, and quiet can feel, well, just wrong. The body isn't staying on alert because it loves stress. It's staying alert because that's the state it learned was necessary for survival.
Next up is this, fierce independence. See, trauma often teaches one really brutal lesson, and it teaches it early. You can only count on yourself, period. So as an adult, this shows up as a major struggle with asking for help or delegating or just depending on other people. It looks like strength on the outside, but it was born from pure necessity.
And yeah, there's a specific term for this too. It's called defensive self-reliance.
It's basically an adaptation where you learn to minimize your own needs, because that's how you avoid the pain of not being able to count on support. And the most important thing to remember here is that this was never a choice. It was a strategy for emotional survival.
And that brings us to our fifth and final trait. And honestly, this might be the most heartbreaking one. It's this incredible ability to feel and understand other people's suffering with so much depth, while at the exact same time, keeping their own struggles completely locked away.
You see, because they've known pain so intimately, they have this huge capacity for empathy. They are amazing listeners. They know how to comfort people. They can sense what's not being said. But the reason they hide their own pain, it's because they learned really early on that their emotions were inconvenient for other people, or even worse, that showing them was actually unsafe.
So after understanding this whole blueprint, this heavy armor, where do we go from here? Well, the final step is to start looking beyond just surviving and start thinking about what healing could actually look like. Okay, if you take away only one thing from this entire explainer, please let it be this. These traits are not your identity. They are a reflection of what you had to do to survive. They are not who you are. And separating the survival strategy from your true self, that is such a critical, powerful step. And here's the powerful and sometimes difficult truth. That armor that was once so essential for your protection, it can become incredibly heavy and isolating as an adult. The very things that kept you safe back then might now be the things keeping you from real connection, from real peace. And it is more than okay to finally acknowledge that you deserve safety, you deserve softness, and you deserve to rest.
So I want to leave you with a question to reflect on. As you look back at these 5 traits, which ones felt, well, personal? Maybe you saw yourself or someone you care about. And maybe more importantly, which of these survival skills do you think you might be ready to gently set down to make a little room for a new way of being?